Hello folks, Dom Lawson here, hairy man about town. Actually I'm not about town, I'm indoors. Within town, is that a thing? It's an iron sandwich, it's me talking rubbish into a laptop and wiping crumbs. I've been eating crisps at my desk again. Reviewing a pop record that's about to be unleashed onto the unsuspecting faithful. So today I'm going to review, I say review, you wouldn't pay me for this, would you? I'm going to talk about, anyway, the new album by Motionless In White, who you probably know. If you're watching this, you've probably come via the Metal Hammer website, and that probably means that you have at least heard of Motionless In White. But anyway, apologies, I've just washed my hair and I haven't dried it. It's terribly rude, but whatever. I don't have a hairdryer. Motionless In White. The new album is called Reincarnated. I believe, hang on, is it their third album or their fourth album? I'm having to check this because... no, it's their third album. Yeah, I thought it was. There you go. Basically, I think it's safe to say that Motionless In White come from a part of the mainstream metal scene, or the metal world, or whatever you want to call it, that doesn't usually appeal to me very much. I'll be honest. I don't. I think what's interesting about them is that I've read people saying that there was a lot of debate fairly recently about people judging bands on image, and I wrote a facetious blog about it myself. And that people may be prejudiced against Motionless In White because of their image, because they don't conform to the stereotype of the modern day metalcore band, or because they're a bit gothy, therefore people don't like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's not even the argument, but I mean, it strikes me that with Motionless In White, the very least that you can say is, well, at least they've made the effort, which definitely applies, because when you compare, ignoring the music for the moment, if you compare Motionless In White to the vast majority of American metalcore bands, they stand out immediately because they look like rock stars. They look like they should be in a successful band. The image is quite I wouldn't say it's contrived, but it's certainly it's deliberate and aimed at a particular market. Although they probably wouldn't. Well, being Americans, they probably would say, "Oh yeah, we're aiming at this demographic dude," But people don't like to regard their creative endeavours as being that cynical, so I'm sure they don't view things in that way. But yeah, so I don't know. The image doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I think I'm a big fan of the Defiled. I think they look great. I think they look like rock stars when they walk on stage, and that's brilliant. And they're still brutally heavy. It's not, I think people see an image and think, oh, well, I think I know what they're going to sound like, and I do exactly the same. I think with Motionless In White, it's possibly not the case, But anyway, so of their previous records, I'm not the greatest fan. I'll be honest. I thought they were quite generic. The second one was a bit more adventurous, but it wasn't. I didn't think there was anything exceptional about it. And like I say, it's not really the kind of thing. It's that metalcore thing of lots of bellowing in the verses and then clean singing in the choruses. And I think unless you Killswitch Engage or one of very, very few other bands, I suspect it's probably time to stop doing that now because it's awful. But anyway, Motionless In White. So the new album, it looks very likely to be a huge success for them. So nothing I say makes the slightest bit of difference, which is comforting for me, if no one else. Not that comforting, really. But anyway, Reincarnate. It's out very short. I can't even tell you when it's out, in case you want to buy it after hearing me be rude about bits of it. It's out September the 15th. There you go. I mean, what's weird about this album is that I came to it not being particularly up on Motionless In White's music. I'd heard a few bits. I'd listened to the first album, I think, when it came out. I wasn't bothered, to be fair. But I kind of had an image in my head of what they sounded like, and it was kind of metalcore with a few gothy trimmings. Because obviously, matey Chris, whatever his name is, from Motionless In White, Chris Motionless In White, as we call him in the Metal Hammer office, he looks, he's a goth. Isn't the point? He can say it's anything he wants, but you look at him and go goth, and that's it. he's got drawn-on eyebrows. Now, I've got to be honest. I know I'm old, and you know I'm rapidly turning into that person that says, "Oh, fucking kids today," which I think is justified. But the drawing on eyebrows thing, don't get that. Don't get it when women do it. Particularly, don't get it when men do it. It seems odd. I don't look at somebody with drawn-on eyebrows and go, "Oh, they've got interesting eyebrows." I think you've drawn on your eyebrows. What happened to your eyebrows? Why did you pluck them that much? Or did you shave them off? Or, as once happened to me, did you leave a lighter on the working top in the kitchen, and then when you put a hot plate from the oven down, accidentally caused the lighter to explode, thus removing all the hair from this part of my face? Not when I had a beard, but maybe that happened. Maybe some lighters exploded in two at the same time and took both his eyebrows out. I don't know. It's a goth thing, but I don't get it. It just looks silly to me. It's like drawing on a moustache or drawing on a beard, you know. Or glasses, even. Yeah. Anyway, each to their own. You know, it's a goth thing. Fine. So I wasn't sure exactly, you know, I had an idea in my head of what they sounded like, but I wasn't sure what to expect from this album, to be honest. It's obviously an album that is being touted as the one that will break them on a higher level, and God knows that scene needs a couple more bands to be really successful. Or maybe it doesn't. It depends on your perspective. You know, maybe if none of them are, then we won't have to suffer any more fucking awful generic metalcore bands. Really, just the worst thing. Well, generic pop punk bands, I suppose. Actually, there's probably quite a few things. Linkin Park, Nickelback. They're all worse than that. But anyway. So yeah, should be a big album. That's the vibe I'm getting from this. And then I listened to it, and well, it probably will be a big album. But if you ask me, ladies and gentlemen, it should be a big album in the compilation charts. It's a very confusing record. Not massively like, oh god, my brain hurts confusing. Well, mild befuddlement is what I experienced when I listened to this. The first track, Death March, is kind of what you expect Motionless in White to sound like, I think. Pretty much. It's incredibly well produced, thunderous, very digital and sterile, but nonetheless thunderous metalcore with lots of bellowing and a slightly tuneful bit in the middle. Whatever, you know, it's all right. Like, not massively my kind of thing, but there you go. And then the second song kicks in, and I'm confused because I've listened to this a few times and I can't always remember which track sounds like which other band. But that's the problem with this album, is that every track sounds like someone else, and very little of it sounds like Motionless in White, or at least by the end of it, you have no sense whatsoever of what Motionless in White want to do. That's not to say that the individual tracks aren't good, although some of them aren't good, but I don't know. Anyway, Reincarnate, which one is that? I can't remember which one that is. Track 3, right, I really like. It's called Puppets 3, the grand finale. It's my favourite thing on the album by a mile. Not surprisingly, it's the track with Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth on it, and it sounds like Cradle of Filth, for the most part, mixed with Motionless in White. Track 4, Unstoppable, sounds like Five Finger Death Punch. There's no point in pretending it doesn't. We can all say it doesn't, over and over again. But it doesn't change the fact that, yes, it sounds exactly, excuse me, like Five Finger Death Punch, which strikes me as weird, to be honest. But anyway, then there's a track called Everybody Sells Cocaine. Not around here, they don't. Which is kind of thumpy Marilyn Manson-y. In fact, I think that's, yeah, is it Death March the one? I don't know. There's a track there's at least 2 tracks that sound like Marilyn Manson on this album. And I think Everybody Sells Cocaine is one of them. Then there's a track called Contemptuous, which is, I think, I can't even remember, but it's got Maria Brink of it in this moment on it, and that sounds like something else as well. Break the Cycle sounds like In Flames. There's a track on here that sounds like AFI. I can't remember which one it is. There's a 7-minute track called Wasp. Now, I like that as a song title, Wasp. But it's 7 minutes long and sounds like Nine Inch Nails. And, I mean, I'm not the biggest Nine Inch Nails fan in the world, I'll be honest. I love the Downward Spiral, some of the early stuff, the occasional tune that he does now. But a 7-minute... I mean, if you're going to do, effectively you're going to rip off Nine Inch Nails, then why do it for 7 minutes? It just seems odd to me. But I think I assume this is all part of, you know, Motionless in White's kind of creative momentum. This is what they want to do, is to head more into that electronic territory and rely less on the generic metalcore thing. And I get that. I get that totally, but why kind of then rely on something else that's already been done better? I don't know. It's confusing. Then there's a track called Dead as Fuck. Now, this is where I'm out. It's that moment, really. My problem with this album, I think, more than my biggest problem with it, more than anything, is that you sense, as with a lot of these kind of faintly gothy, sweary kind of records, post Marilyn Manson kind of stuff, and you get it a lot in the underground in goth stuff as well, and noise music and things, is that people think they're being terribly subversive, you know, and edgy. And I guess for a 14-year-old girl who's going to Hot Topic for the first time, getting a Motionless in White t-shirt, knowing that they've got a song called Dead as Fuck, probably seems quite edgy. But it isn't. It's not edgy at all. It's all been done a million times, and it's just not. It's like pretending to be, you know, kind of twisted and fucked up. You know, I don't know. Maybe Chris is twisted and fucked up, but these songs say the opposite to me. You know, so he's probably a very well balanced young man who's got his head screwed on, and knows exactly what he's doing to sell loads of records. I don't know, you know. I mean, is he? I don't like, you know, accusing bands of being overtly cynical, because they probably love what they do, and if they do, then that's brilliant. But it just reeks of kind of, you know, packaged rebellion to me, and it's, you know, it's just not. There's nothing edgy about it at all. Anyway, there you go. There's another. The last track, "Carry the Torch," is quite in flamesy as well. It's got some harmony guitars on it, and then "Final Dictum," featuring Tim Scold, who's been in, I think, Nine Inch Nails and loads of other things, is kind of Nine Inch Nailsy again. And I do think there's a very fine line between sounding Nine Inch Nailsy, which is the thing that I've just invented, and sounding like Linkin Park. You know, the electronic divide, there's a continuum there, and that you've got spooky noises, spooky noises, spooky noises, spooky noises, less spooky, not quite as spooky, not very spooky at all. Linkin Park. You know, that's kind of how I work it out. And I suppose, I mean, there's a couple of tracks. There's one track, can't remember which one it is, but on the last minute of it, Chris does a startling impression of Jonathan Davis from Korn for a couple of seconds, and then there's a couple of Machine Head harmonics. I'm like, fucking hell, how many more bands? You know, there's one song where he sounds a lot like, I think it's Unstoppable when he starts singing. He sounds like the bloke from Volbeat. And then the rest of the song sounds like Five Finger Death Punch. I don't know. It's one of those things that, I mean, is this album... This album will probably appeal to the generation it's aimed at. You know, if you're between, like, 12 and 22 at this point, and you draw your own eyebrows on, and you're quite cross with your parents, I think this will probably resonate. You know... So it's just a weird one, you know. I just can't see it. To me, just the whole thing smacks of kind of contrivance and kind of tapping into a particular thing that's, you know, like an audience that already exists, and just kind of pandering to that, because I don't get any sense of danger from any of it, and that's obviously how it's meant to sound, but presumably only to kids, because I just don't know. It's very hard to find anything in this album to relate to, you know. I mean, obviously it's not aimed at 41-year-old people like me that have 2 kids and a beer belly, you know. I mean, but I think if you want mass appeal, then you are going to have to drag in a few middle-aged folk at some point. And I worry about anyone over the age of 20 that thinks that a song called Dead as Fuck is edgy, you know. It's just silly, really. Anyway, whatever. I'm sure some people take it all incredibly seriously, so that's fine. That's good, because I would have done at that age, and there were bands that, you know, if I look back, some of the lyrics that I used to think were amazing. Possibly not quite so amazing. But yeah, Reincarnated. I mean, I suppose maybe the title is a bit of a lull. Maybe they're having a lull, saying that we have reincarnated ourselves as lots of other different bands on this album. I mean, none of it offends me. It's not Linkin Park bad or Bullet for My Valentine bad. It's incredibly well produced, pretty heavy in places. His vocals are great for that kind of thing, but it's every time those choruses kick in, it's just, oh, this is the least edgy thing of all time. You know, it's there are ravey synths. I forgot to mention there are ravey synths on a couple of tracks as well. It's like, oh right, well, yeah, we'll do that as well now, because that's another thing that's popular. I don't know, if Chris has this kind of intense, you know, creative vision, then it coincidentally is the same as lots of other people's creative visions. I think that's my problem with it, really. I say the track with Danny Filth is great up to a point, and then the rest of it. I mean, I quite like the In Flamesy ones. Break the Cycle's not too bad. Carry the Torch is all right. Don't know. Not really aimed at me though, is it? But I suppose it is because I write about heavy metal for a living, so everything's aimed at me in the heavy metal world, to some degree, I suppose. I don't know. I just find it very hard to get excited by bands like this, and it worries me when anybody who isn't a kind of truculent teenager with too much mascara on buys into the imagery and stuff of a band like this, who, you know, thinking that it's really subversive. You know, Marilyn Manson was way more subversive than this when he came out, and also what he was doing was new. There's another track that sounds like Rob Zombie. There you go. it's yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you like, you know, if you like Nine Inch Nails, Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, Killswitch Engage is a track that sounds like them. In Flames, AFI, Cradle of Filth. If you like all of those things, and you don't mind them all being done at the same time on an album by a man with drawn-on eyebrows, then I suspect Reincarnated by Motionless in White is for you. If, on the other hand, you're like me, and as soon as they start singing one of those choruses, you want to start hitting people with a spade, then avoid this album like the plague. I don't know. I might have to shave my eyebrows off, draw them on, and see if I feel differently. Hard to know. Right, that's enough bollocks from me. Thanks for watching this. We've learnt nothing, and that's the way it should be. There'll be another one soon. It's me talking about something else, I imagine. Cheers. Have a lovely day.